My family told me to stay out of sight during their anniversary party, so I booked a vacation, and when the event fell apart, they came begging me to return. Family treated me like garbage for years, while spoiling my materialistic sister and her wannabe husband. I quietly built a real estate empire, then systematically destroyed their fake lifestyle when they crossed the final line. The ending will blow your mind. All right, Reddit, buckle up, because this is the story of how I went from family doormat to real estate mogul to nuclear revenge legend in about 18 months. Before you start calling this fake, I've got property deeds, bank statements, and a very expensive attorney who made this all legally bulletproof. I'm Matilde, 28, and I've been the family's scapegoat since birth. While everyone else was partying through college, I was studying finance and real estate, learning the markets, basically living and breathing property investment, while my family saw this as boring and antisocial. I'm dating Jack, an architect. My sister Madison is everything I'm not. 25, blonde, Instagram obsessed, with 35,000 followers, who thinks she's some kind of lifestyle guru. Never worked a real day in her life. Her biggest accomplishment was marrying this finance wannabe named Marcus, who makes decent money but acts like he owns Goldman Sachs. Picture the guy who wears expensive watches he can barely afford and leases luxury cars to impress people at Starbucks. Growing up in suburban Denver, Dad owned a struggling accounting firm and Mom sold insurance part-time. Solid middle class trying desperately to look upper class. They've been bankrolling Madison's lifestyle for years, paid for her dream wedding that cost more than most people's cars, her apartment deposits, car payments, basically everything. While I've been financially independent since 19, Madison used to mock me constantly. Matilde's playing with her boring spreadsheets again. When are you going to get a real job instead of buying ugly houses? Marcus makes more in bonuses than you make all year flipping dumps. Well, about that. 3 years ago, I started buying distressed properties in up-and-coming Denver neighborhoods. While everyone else was chasing trendy investments, I was quietly accumulating rental properties and fix and flip projects. Worked 16-hour days, lived in a basic apartment, drove a used Honda, basically looked broke while building an empire. Last month, I sold my portfolio to a major real estate investment firm for $8.2 million. Overnight, I went from family disappointment to multimillionaire. Did I announce this immediately? Not a chance. I kept quiet and watched them plan their big family Christmas gathering. Same routine every year. Madison gets treated like royalty while I'm expected to smile and pretend her husband isn't a complete fraud. But this year was different. December 18th, I'm helping Mom with party prep because somehow I'm still the free labor, when I overhear Madison talking to Marcus in the living room. I honestly can't believe we have to pretend Matilde's opinion matters, she's saying. She's such a loser. Lives in that crappy apartment, drives a Honda, probably makes like $50,000 buying broken houses. It's embarrassing having her around successful people. Marcus laughs. Your parents need to stop enabling her. She's almost 30 and still playing with Monopoly houses in real life. Then Madison drops the line that sealed her fate. At least when Mom and Dad die, we won't have to split anything with Matilde. She'll probably lose her share on some stupid investment anyway. Mom actually chuckles, actually finds this amusing. That's when I realized I wasn't family to them. I was the handyman they kept around for free repairs and heavy lifting. I finished arranging their fancy appetizers, smiled, said goodnight, and went home to start planning something special. See, what they didn't know was that $8.2 million was just the beginning. I'd also been quietly building a property management company that was already generating serious monthly income, had 12 rental properties still producing cash flow, 3 more flips in progress, and enough liquid capital to live comfortably forever. But more importantly, I knew things about their finances they thought I'd never figured out. Marcus's successful finance career? Complete illusion. He's drowning in debt from crypto investments gone wrong, behind on car payments, maxed out credit cards, the works. Only reason they stay afloat is my parents have been secretly lending them money for 8 months. Madison's influencer income? Maybe $600 a month promoting random products to her fake followers. The rest of their lifestyle comes from family handouts and credit cards. My parents, Dad's accounting firm is dying. Mom hasn't sold a policy in months, and they're about 6 months from losing their house. But they're too proud to admit the golden children they've been supporting are bleeding them dry. The same house where I'd been doing free maintenance, handling their finances, fixing everything that broke because Matilde's good with practical stuff. Time to show them exactly how practical I could be. Chapter 1: Information Gathering. Christmas Eve arrives, and I show up with expensive appetizers and my usual quiet demeanor. Same clothes as always. Khakis, polo shirt, nothing flashy. Let them keep thinking I'm struggling with my little house projects. The guest list is their typical crowd of suburban social climbers trying to out-impress each other. Madison's holding court by the fireplace, showing off her new designer purse that my parents definitely financed, while Marcus explains his investment strategies to anyone unfortunate enough to listen. I'm helping Dad set up chairs when Marcus starts his performance. Yeah, I just moved another $20,000 into this emerging market fund, he announces to the room. You've got to think long term. Build generational wealth, you know. Madison giggles and touches his arm. Marcus is always thinking ahead. That's why he's so successful. I nearly choke on my water. This guy hasn't made a profitable investment in 2 years, but I play along perfectly. Ask questions. Act impressed. Let him explain basic financial concepts like I'm clueless. The whole time I'm thinking about the folder on my computer with screenshots of his accounts that he carelessly left logged in on my parents' laptop last month. Here's what Marcus didn't realize. When you ask me to help fix the computer and leave your financial accounts open, I see everything. His portfolio is down 73% from peak. Credit card debt across 7 cards totaling $52,000, 3 months behind on his BMW lease, 2 months behind on rent. But he's standing there acting like Warren Buffett. Around 9 p.m., Madison corners me in Dad's office. She's had enough sparkling cider to get nasty. So, Matilda, still playing with your little fixer-upper houses? Just working? Just working, I reply. She rolls her eyes dramatically. When are you going to get serious about life? Marcus and I are looking at houses in Cherry Creek. Real estate's actually a good investment when you do it right. You know, maybe you should think bigger than rundown rentals. I nod like she's sharing profound wisdom. Cherry Creek's pretty expensive though, right? Not when you're actually successful, she snaps. Some people plan for the future instead of living in delusion. Rich words from someone whose biggest life decision was choosing Instagram filters. Speaking of planning, I say casually, how's Marcus's portfolio performing? He seems really confident about his strategy. Her face lights up like Christmas morning. Amazing. He's basically a genius with investments. Made so much money this year, it's insane. I just smile and nod. Poor girl has no clue her husband's about to lose everything. The party ends around 11 p.m. I help clean up, say my polite goodbyes, drive home. But instead of sleeping, I spend the next 6 hours doing deep research. I wasn't just planning to embarrass them. I was planning to systematically dismantle their entire fake lifestyle, and I had the tools to do it. First, Marcus's social media. This guy posts everything, pictures of expensive restaurants, screenshots of winning investments that are completely fabricated, photos inside houses they're considering but could never afford. Every post was evidence of financial fraud waiting to happen. Second, Madison's business. I analyzed her Instagram engagement, her sponsorship contracts, her actual income reports. She's been lying to my parents about her earnings, claiming $4,000 monthly when she's making maybe $400. The rest of their lifestyle comes from family money. Third, the big discovery. Dad's business records. He'd asked me to organize his computer files last year, giving me access to everything. Revenue down, 45%, 5 major clients lost, new business practically non-existent. He's been hiding the failure from Mom, but the firm is essentially bankrupt. But here's the beautiful part. I also found something that made me smile in a way that would have scared small children. Dad had a life insurance policy worth $750,000. Guess who was the primary beneficiary until 2 months ago? Me. Guess who it got changed to? Madison. That's when I knew this wasn't just about holiday disrespect. They'd been planning to cut me out completely, probably figuring I'd never amount to anything worthwhile. Time to show them what a costly mistake looks like. Chapter 2. Setting the Trap. January arrives, and I begin phase 1 of my plan. I create a fake social media profile. Generic finance enthusiast aesthetic, stock photos of success, motivational quotes about building wealth and financial freedom. Nothing flashy, just credible enough to catch Marcus's attention. I start engaging with his posts, asking for advice, treating him like a financial guru. Within days, he's messaging me privately, offering to mentor me on investment strategies. This is crucial context. Marcus desperately needs to feel superior to everyone. He's not actually successful, but he needs people to believe he is. When some stranger starts treating him like an expert, he absolutely loves it. "You seem like someone who gets it," he messages me. "Most people don't understand the mindset required for real wealth building." I play the eager student perfectly. Ask about his strategies, his biggest wins, how he got started. He eats it up completely. Within 2 weeks, he's pitching me on an exclusive opportunity he's developing. He sends screenshots showing massive gains that never happened. Obviously fake. And I can verify this by cross-referencing the images, checking metadata, tracing sources. This isn't just fraud. It's embarrassingly obvious fraud. Meanwhile, I start building a relationship with Madison. Reach out casually, ask about her brand, suggest grabbing coffee to discuss business opportunities. Madison, being Madison, assumes I want to give her money. She agrees immediately. We meet at an overpriced cafe in downtown Denver. She arrives 20 minutes late, orders the most expensive drink available, and immediately starts pitching her consulting services. "I could totally help you build your image," she says. "You're in real estate, right? I know exactly how to position that. Property investors are really trendy right now." I nod along while she explains her strategy for growing my personal brand. Complete nonsense, obviously, but I let her talk while recording everything. Then I drop the hook. "This sounds incredible, Madison. What kind of investment are we talking about? If I wanted to go all in on building my profile..." Her eyes light up like jackpot symbols. "Well, for someone serious about really building something major, I'd recommend starting with $40,000. That covers content creation, professional photography, sponsored partnerships, the complete package. $40,000 for Instagram posts from someone with fake followers and zero business sense. That seems very reasonable," I say. Let her think she's already spending the money mentally. I'm not planning to give her anything. I'm documenting their scams and desperate money grabs because in 2 weeks, I'm going to systematically destroy their entire world. The third component involves my parents. I start visiting more frequently, helping with computer issues, being the beautiful Mathilde in their eyes. Really, I'm installing monitoring software, email trackers, financial programs, giving myself real-time access to their accounts. Some might think this crosses lines, but remember, these people removed me from a $750,000 life insurance policy while I was still helping pay their bills. They made their choice. By the end of January, I have everything needed. Marcus's fraud evidence, Madison's scam attempts, my parents' real financial situation, and most importantly, their complete trust that I'm still the harmless disappointment they can manipulate. Chapter 3. The Execution. February 14th, Valentine's Day. Perfect timing. I wake up and transfer $3.2 million from my real estate sale into a new investment account, not because I need to, but because I want them to see exactly how much money their failure actually controls. Then I call my attorney, the expensive one I hired after the property sale. "We have extensive business to discuss," I tell him. "Fraud reports, cease and desist orders, documentation for civil lawsuits." He reviews my evidence folder and says, "This is quite comprehensive. Are you certain you want to proceed?" "These are family relationships," he reminds me. "Not anymore," I say. At 2 p.m., Marcus receives his first surprise, a cease and desist letter delivered by courier, plus formal notification that he's being reported to financial regulators for investment fraud and securities violations. The evidence package includes screenshots of him soliciting investments for non-existent opportunities, falsified portfolio statements, and records showing he took money from at least 8 people. Because he used my parents' address for business correspondence, investigations will involve the family house, mailbox, and financial records. Madison gets her package at 3 p.m. Notification of IRS reporting for tax fraud and unreported income. Turns out she'd been claiming extensive business expenses for her consulting career while earning practically nothing. fake business trips, phantom equipment purchases, professional services never used. Included are detailed breakdowns of every lie she told my parents, with bank records exposing reality. At 4 p.m., my parents received their surprise. Formal notice that homeowners insurance is being canceled due to undisclosed business activities conducted from the residence. When Marcus used their address for his investment scheme, he technically converted their house into a business location. Residential insurance doesn't cover that. Since they can't afford commercial coverage, they're about to become uninsured homeowners with an outstanding mortgage. At 5 p.m., I send a comprehensive email to Madison's entire contact list, everyone she's ever pitched her consulting services to. Subject line: The truth about Madison's business. The email contains screenshots of her real social media analytics, essentially zero genuine engagement, actual income statements, nearly nothing, and evidence of fake followers and artificial interactions. I also send everything to Marcus's clients, coworkers, and their entire social circle. By 6 p.m., both phones are exploding. Clients demanding refunds, friends asking what's happening, family members who just learned they'd been deceived for months. Madison calls first, screaming and crying. "Matilde, what did you do?" "Just shared some public records," I say calmly. "Is there a problem?" "You ruined everything." Marcus calls next, trying to sound intimidating. "You have no idea what you've done, you little—" He threatens lawsuits until I drop the nuclear option. "Oh, and Marcus, I know about your side business," I tell him. Silence. "The prescription medication you've been selling to cover your losses. Did you think I wouldn't notice when you left your messaging apps open on my parents' computer? $4,000 worth last month alone." That stops him cold. I'd been monitoring their communications for weeks. Marcus wasn't just bad with money, he was dealing prescription pills to pay rent. Small-time distribution, but still federal-level exposure. I didn't report that yet. That was my insurance policy. My parents call around 8 p.m., panicked. "Matilde, what's happening?" "Government agencies are calling. Our insurance is canceled. Marcus and Madison are talking about investigations." "Might want to distance yourselves from that situation," I say. "Are they family?" Dad asks. "Are they?" I reply. Long silence. "You knew about that?" I know about many things. Chapter 4. The Reckoning. The next 48 hours are chaos. Marcus gets suspended from his job pending internal investigation for offering fake trading advice, violating compliance regulations. Madison's Instagram account gets reported for fraudulent engagement and is suspended. Her 2 sponsorships are canceled when companies realize they'd been paying for artificial followers. An IRS investigator visits my parents about business activities conducted from their address. They have no idea what he means, making them look either complicit or grossly incompetent. Federal agents call Marcus about pharmaceutical distribution. I may have anonymously provided some information. By Friday, my phone rings constantly. Madison is begging me to fix this. Marcus offers to repay money he never borrowed if I'll make the investigations disappear. My parents demand a family meeting. I ignore them and keep living my life. Saturday morning, a text changes everything. "Dad, Matilde, we need to talk. Madison's in the hospital. Apparently she had a breakdown. Panic attack so severe they called an ambulance. For a moment I feel something like guilt. Then I remember her laughing about inheriting everything instead of me. And the feeling passes. I drive to the hospital anyway. In the waiting area, surrounded by uncomfortable chairs, I listen to their pleas. "This has to stop," Mom says. "She's been crying. I don't know what they did to upset you." "What they did to me?" I laugh. "How about treating me like hired help for 10 years while publicly mocking everything about my life?" Dad leans in. "We made mistakes." "Okay, but Matilda, this is excessive," he says. "The investigations, the public humiliation. Madison's career is finished," I answer. "What career? She made $7,200 last year pretending to be a business consultant while you paid her rent." "They're broken. Dad's aged years. Mom's makeup can't hide the exhaustion. I realize I'm not finished." "You want to fix this?" I sit back. "Here's how it works. First, Marcus pays back every penny he stole from his investment victims, with interest. Second, Madison publicly apologizes for defrauding her clients and repays everyone who hired her for services she never delivered. Third, you sell the house. They stare. You're broke, I say. Dad's business is failing. Mom hasn't made a sale in forever. You've been financing Madison and Marcus with money you don't have. What about the life insurance? I ask. You changed the beneficiary from me to Madison 2 months ago. Why? Dad sputters. We thought she'd need it more. You thought? I pull out my phone and show them my bank balance. The number is so large they blink repeatedly. How do you have $8 million? Mom gasps. Real estate investment company bought my portfolio. I'm also running a property management business worth more than Dad made in his career. They stare in shock. You changed the beneficiary back to me, I continue, not because I need the money, but because Madison doesn't deserve it. Then you sell the house, pay your debts, and learn to live within actual means. If you refuse, Marcus goes to prison for drug trafficking. Madison gets charged with tax evasion, and you both lose the house when the IRS seizes it. 30 seconds of silence. Fine, Dad says quietly. We'll do it. Chapter 5. The Aftermath. 2 months later, their fake empire collapses entirely. Marcus is fired, ends up at a used car lot making $32,000 a year. Drug charges are ultimately dropped after he cooperates, but federal fraud investigations still loom. Madison's consulting career is dead. She's working retail and living with our aunt because she can't afford her own place. My parents sold their house and moved into a small apartment. Dad finally admitted his firm was bankrupt and took a job with a large accounting firm. Mom's working reception at an insurance office. Their combined income is about half what they used to pretend. Meanwhile, I'm thriving. My property management company signs a $12 million development contract. I bought a house in the mountains, twice the size of my parents' former place, with views that cost more than Marcus's annual salary. I drive a Tesla because I can, and because it's silent when I arrive at family gatherings. A dinner is arranged months later. My cousin Andrea convinced me to meet them at an expensive steakhouse. I arrive in a custom suit. They look defeated. Madison is apologetic. Marcus is contrite. My parents are hollow-eyed. They beg. We want to make this right. I listen, then I make an offer. I'll pay off all debts, I say. Dad's back taxes, Mom's car, Marcus's restitution, Madison's legal fees. Clean slate. In exchange, you sign legal documents waiving any claim to my inheritance or family assets. Forever. You publicly acknowledge what you did. Confessions on social media, letters to your social circle, complete transparency, and permanent separation from my life. They sign within 48 hours. I transfer $284,000 that afternoon, enough to solve immediate problems and give them an undeserved fresh start. My attorney confirms the documents are legally binding. Congratulations, he says. You're officially free of them. I sit by my pool watching the sunset over the mountains. My phone buzzes with a text from Madison. Thank you, Mathilde. I know I don't deserve it. I delete it without responding. 6 months later, Andrea reports they're doing better. Marcus is making restitution payments. Madison works full-time and lives within her means. My parents adjust to middle-class reality. I'm doing better than better. My company gets valued at $45 million. I'm dating Jack, a brilliant architect who finds my family drama hilarious. I bought a cabin where I plan developments in peace. Sometimes people ask if I regret being so harsh, if I went too far. I tell them about Christmas Eve when Madison called me a loser who didn't matter, about years of being treated like unpaid maintenance while they praised their golden child, about being removed from beneficiary policies while still feeding their dependents. Then I show them a picture of my house. Revenge isn't about hurting people. It's about showing them exactly who they chose not to respect. A few people still try to slide back into my life. Distant relatives, a high school friend who expects favors, but I keep the circle intentionally small. Jack and I host weekend breakfasts for a handful of honest people. Andrea, my business partner, and a couple of longtime mentors who saw my work long before the headlines. Those breakfasts are loud, messy, and real, exactly the opposite of the polished, performative gatherings my family used to throw. I learned to protect my time and my privacy. No more free labor, no more unpaid repairs, No more being the family safety net while they lived above their means. When relatives ask for loans now, I refer them to financial counseling or offer to teach them how to invest properly, on the condition they do the work and show me results. Very few take the offer. Business-wise, I doubled down on systems and people I trust. My property management team runs like a Swiss watch. I stepped back from daily grunt work long ago. I mentor young investors because I remember how lonely it was to figure this out without guidance. I donate anonymously to a few causes that matter to me: affordable housing, small business grants for women entrepreneurs, because building something that helps others is more satisfying than watching anyone else fall into the same traps. Sometimes I think about mercy, about whether there was a kinder way to force accountability. But then I remember the cumulative weight of every insult, every borrowed dollar never repaid, every time I was erased at the table. It wasn't a single Christmas Eve comment that broke me. It was decades of being small to make someone else look bigger. What I did was methodical and legal, and yes, it hurt people I once loved, but it also saved me. Jack is my safe place. He's not impressed by the house or the headlines. He's impressed by my work ethic, my refusal to be diminished, and the way I plan projects down to the last tile. We argue about fixtures and layouts, and sometimes about whether I over-explain things to family members who simply want a shortcut. He keeps me grounded. He makes me laugh until my sides hurt. When I look at him, I don't see a rescue. I see a partner. At family gatherings now, I go when I want to and leave when I've had enough. No performances, no facades. If they're better people because of what happened, that's their work, and I'm quietly glad. If they relapse into old habits, that's their consequence, and I move on. The legal documents guarantee my peace more than any apology ever could. People ask if money changed me. In practical ways, yes. Comfort removes noise. But the core of me, the stubborn kid who preferred books and spreadsheets to parties, that kid is still here. Richer, certainly, and strategically less naive. More selective about trust. Happier, too. Freedom tastes like a late afternoon breeze across my mountain deck and the satisfaction of seeing a long-term plan finally pay off. So here's the takeaway, if there must be one. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are self-respect. If people you love repeatedly choose to treat you as expendable, you can either stay and let them define you, or you can build a life where their opinion no longer dictates your worth. I chose the latter. It took hard work, a few cold decisions, and a willingness to be ruthless when required. It also took humility to offer a lifeline at the end, on my terms. When I walk into a room now, it's not to prove anything. It's to be present on my own terms. I smile when I want to, I leave when I need to, and I never, ever let anyone make me feel invisible again. Madison still sends the occasional holiday card. The handwriting is careful, the words overly sweet, but it always ends the same way. Maybe one day we can start over. I never respond. Starting over would mean erasing the years they taught me. My place was at the bottom of the family hierarchy. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And forgetting would invite the cycle all over again. Marcus tried calling once after his probation hearing. He left a voicemail that started tough. You ruined my life, but ended broken. I don't know how to fix this. I deleted it without a second thought. He had plenty of chances to fix things before the walls closed in. My parents keep their distance. I know through Andrea that they've stabilized in their apartment, living smaller, but finally living within their means. Sometimes she says they look older, quieter, maybe even humbled. If that's true, then the reckoning was worth it. Not because I wanted them broken, but because it forced them into reality for the first time. Meanwhile, I've stepped into a life that feels almost surreal. My company expanded into commercial developments, office parks, mixed-use complexes, entire neighborhoods with my fingerprints on them. Jack sketches designs at the kitchen counter while I run numbers beside him. Our debates about skylines and floor plans have turned into blueprints that will outlive us both. There's something grounding about knowing the work we do isn't just about profit. It's about leaving behind structures that matter. On quiet nights, when the mountain air seeps in through open windows, I think about that younger version of myself. The loser who fixed faucets, hauled furniture, and smiled politely while being mocked. I want to tell her she was never small, that every spreadsheet, every late-night hustle, every boring hour of market research was the foundation of something massive, that one day she'd sit across from the same people who called her worthless and watch them beg for her help. And I'd tell her to savor it, not out of spite, but out of proof. Proof that discipline outlasts entitlement. Proof that respect isn't given to the loudest voice, but earned by the one who never quits. If my family ever truly changes, maybe there's a future where we share a meal without tension. But I'm not waiting for that. My life is too full, too bright, too hard-won to spend it hoping for an apology that might never come. So I live. I build. I love Jack with all the steadiness I once reserved for real estate markets. And every so often, when the past tries to whisper that I was once the scapegoat, I open the curtains, look out at the home I built with my own hands and decisions, and remind myself. They called me a loser, but I was always the architect of my own empire. It's been 3 years since the night I walked away from that steakhouse, leaving my family with a bill they couldn't pay and an ultimatum they couldn't ignore. 3 years since I cut the strings that bound me to their chaos. I don't measure my life in revenge anymore. That chapter is over. What I measure now are the mornings I wake up without dread, the projects that carry my name on blueprints across Denver, the laughter that fills my home when Jack burns pancakes on purpose just to see me roll my eyes. Freedom feels different than I imagined. It isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet. It's the peace of walking into my office and knowing every dollar, every brick, every decision was mine. Not a handout, not a compromise, not stolen credit. It's the stillness of watching snow fall on the mountains from my balcony, knowing no one can take it away. Sometimes strangers online still call the story fake. Too clean, too cinematic. I don't argue. Let them believe what they want. The truth is stranger than fiction anyway, and the truth is mine to keep. As for Madison, Marcus, and my parents, our lives run parallel now, never intersecting. They live smaller, quieter, maybe wiser. I live freer. Our paths don't need to cross again. Andrea tells me they finally stopped asking about me at family gatherings. That's how I know they've accepted the new reality. Would I do it all the same way again? Yes. Not because it was easy, it wasn't, but because it was necessary. Sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to burn the old bridges so thoroughly that even you can't walk back across. So this is the legacy I carry. Not the shame of being a scapegoat, not the bitterness of being overlooked, but the strength of having built something indestructible out of every insult, every dismissal, every laugh at my expense. They wanted me invisible. Instead, I became undeniable. And that, more than the money, more than the empire, more than the revenge, is the part of the story I'll carry forever.